Neat Nation, what's going on? Welcome back to the Droopy Whiskey Show, where today we're going to talk about our fantasies. We're going to share openly, together, unashamedly, unabashedly, talk about the whiskeys that we don't have, that we wish we had, or the whiskeys that don't even exist, really, that we wish would exist. Before we get into that, per usual, let's handle some business. If you like the video, get down and like the video. That's that thumbs up button, and subscribe. Standard YouTube fare. You guys should be used to it by now. It's just the way that you give me a favor for watching the video that I made for you. There's also some dank links down in the show description, and I've got a lot of other videos out that you guys should watch. Like if you're considering going to Kentucky, visiting the Kentucky Bourbon Trail, maybe check out some of the reviews I've posted. I got more coming. Reviews from distilleries that you might or might not want to go to. Okay. We're not going to waste any more time. I mean, we haven't wasted any time. That was important stuff. But we're just going to get right into it today. After I get some whiskey, which is always important. Decisions. Okay, we're kind of going to be talking about unicorns. And while I'm not going to pop a unicorn per se, I think I'm going to go. I'm going to bring out a banger, heavy hitter. I'm going to have a little touch of this Pirate Bottle Elijah Craig Barrel Proof. 138.8 proof. Doesn't suck. Does not suck. The new Elijah Craig Barrel Proofs, if you watch my channel, you know they're great. Particularly some of the batches last year. B520, C920. Really, really solid stuff. You know what? Let's give this a quick rinse. But I don't know, something about this old Heaven Hill stuff, which is not actually that old. This is from 2016. It's really good stuff. And I'm glad that with a little help from a friend, I was able to procure a bottle, and I was not disappointed. I mean, it's super hot, 138.8 proof, but even just on the nose, it doesn't smell that way. It's like sweet oak, barrel char, cinnamon, red hots with buttercream frosting and creme brulee and brown sugar. Like the nose is just delightful, and the palate doesn't let you down either. I mean, truly exquisite. Very special. Now here we go. I'm going to hit you with 8 whiskeys. That's just the ones that I came up with that don't exist-ish, that I wish would exist. And if you have whiskeys that you're like, man, I wish this thing would exist that doesn't currently, you should put it in the comments below, because I would love to know the whiskeys that you wish would exist but don't. Here are mine. Number 1. I wish that Booker's Rye, which exists, would be a seasonal release just like Booker's Bourbon. Now, I'm not asking for the same like hyper-aged Booker's Rye. I'm asking for a decently aged Booker's Rye. Like, give me Booker's Rye 8-year-old or something like that. Because the Knob Creek Rye seems to be in the 5-year range. The single barrels, that's generally what they are, about 5 years old. So if we're getting a Booker's Rye, we're going to get hopefully a little closer to that Booker's Rye profile. And at 7 to 8 years old, we're going to get a little more age than we would on the Knob Creek. And just like Booker's, it would sell out off the shelf. Doesn't matter what kind of price they put on that sucker, particularly if it was in a dank green bottle like Booker's Rye was before. We'd all go crazy for it. Rumor is that Booker's Rye is going to make a comeback. That's not been validated, I don't think. No TTB labels have been released, but that's the scuttlebutt. Don't know what that means exactly. Don't know what the word history is behind scuttlebutt. Should look it up, but I don't have the answer right now. But anyway, Booker's Rye as a seasonal release, just like Booker's, would be pretty killer. All right, next up is a release very similar to, wait for it, this. So this is Blantons straight from the barrel. This is barrel proof, single barrel, Blantons. And what would be dank, and many people have made this remark before, so this is hardly new to me, but it would be awesome to have sort of extra old Blantons barrel proof as a part of the Buffalo Trace Antique Collection lineup. That would be super, super cool. Now, there's a reason, though, I think, that this doesn't exist in a bottle that looks like this at a slightly higher age. And that is because Mash Bill number 2 products, which go into Blantons, Rock Hill Farms, Elmer Lee, etc., while those are produced by Buffalo Trace, they're not owned by Sazerac Company. They're owned by Age International. So while Buffalo Trace is doing the production, they're doing it on behalf of Age, and so therefore they can't add to the Buffalo Trace Antique Collection something with the Blanton's name. So it makes sense, right? Hopefully. A little convoluted, a little tough to keep track of who owns what, but there's more information about Blantons and the history behind that at the video I made. What's the deal with Blantons? Just search Drew P. What's the deal with Blantons? You'll find it. You should check it out. It's pretty dank. All right, whiskey number 3. And this came to me the other night as I was tasting Elijah Craig Rye, which this has kind of been pooped upon, meaning that other whiskey tubers and other reviewers, nobody's like loved the Elijah Craig Rye. I love it. I think it's great. I think it's dope, and I think it'd be really, really swell if they basically did this with this, meaning that if they did barrel strength rye, which they don't do any of, Pikesville's the closest you get, and they did it at a high age statement. Can you imagine a 12-year barrel strength rye from Heaven Hill? Yeah, I know. I mean, they got to have some age stocks, right? Because they produce a decent amount of rye for Rittenhouse and Pikesville, which aren't exactly like whiskey geeks' favorites. But the Elijah Craig profile was pretty killer. What if they just dropped that stuff, like let it sit in the barrel a little longer, and then they pour that stuff out, don't filter it, just put it in the bottle at 8 to 12 years old? I mean, it's got to be a winner. And yes, if Heaven Hill did want to hire me as their product development manager and marketing director, I'm all in. I'd have to chat about it with a few people, but it'd be hard to turn down. I think that'd be fun. The next product. So what are we on now? 4. I think we're just going fast. I'm delivering in this video, coming at you. Four Roses is rad. If you guys know me, you know I like these ones, these Four Roses barrel strength picks. My buddy Brian is obsessive about these bad boys. But Four Roses just does bourbon. That's all they ever do. No toasted, double barrel, and no rye. I'm not asking for more toasted or double barreled stuff. There is enough of that on the market. Like, I'm actually kind of tired of it. Would I buy the Master's Keep Toasted when it comes out if I have a shot at it? Probably. But I'm not exactly asking distilleries to do that, and there's no double-barreled or toasted stuff in my list today. But there's a buttload of rye, and maybe that's just because I don't know exactly why that is. I like ryes. It's not my everyday, but more and more I go to rye a decent amount. So anyway, tonight it's about rye, though. Maybe it's a Freudian thing, not sure. But I would love to see what the geniuses over at Four Roses would do with a rye. Right? I mean, come on. In the entire existence of Four Roses, a la Old Prentice Distillery, I don't know that they've done anything with a rye. Correct me if I'm wrong. Let me know if you know a rye that came out of Old Prentice. That'd be pretty sick to know about. And, I think it wouldn't hurt them to just, do a few batches. Let it sit there for 6 to 8 to 12 to 16 years. And hit us with a Four Roses rye. Let it be a one-off. I don't care. But I want to taste what that would taste like. Like Brent Elliott. Dude, you know what you're doing. Show us what you got with the rye, my dog. Another thing that you shouldn't be surprised about, like if you watch the channel, is that I love Remus Repeal Reserve. Batch 3 and 4, both really solid. This is well-aged MGP. I mean, gosh, I think this is 11 and 12-year-old bourbon in batch 4 here. but it's at 100 proof, which is a step up. I think the initial batch they did was maybe the first two were 94 proof. It's like, come on, guys, you're using good whiskey. Like, give us the proof. And then they did 100, and we're like, okay, that's pretty good. But what if they did a barrel proof release? Why would they not? I mean, this is a product for whiskey geeks. We are the ones who buy this. Granted, it's a cool bottle, so might they dupe some junior Barnes person who doesn't really know too much about whiskey into buying it? Well, yeah, that person would have their day made because this is delicious. But I think they should release this at barrel proof. They don't release anything at barrel proof, MGP themselves, in the bourbon category outside of the single barrels of the Remus small batch, which are quite good. Those are 6-ish year old barrel proof single barrels. But what if they did this at 11 to 12-year-old at barrel proof? I mean, it would quickly attain the legendary status that the Old Scout and OKI barrel proof releases had. So again, I'm just lobbing up softballs here. So the distilleries can just take these ideas, no charge. Before I keep going, some of these ideas were created in collaboration with my boy, TFL dad, Tom Lynch. So Tom, I don't remember exactly which ones, but I'm going to give you credit for all of these. I'm just going to say they all came from Tom, which is not exactly true, but I mean, the man deserves some credit. A lot of credit for a lot of things. Something on the lens there. All right, number six. This is something we talked about on my last live stream, and that is that Maker's Mark should release some age-stated stuff. I mean, they do great stuff. Their cask strength, standard cask strength at like $50, really solid. Maker's 46, it's great. Standard Maker's, good. I mean, it's as good as Weller Special Reserve. And then some of the more recent, like stave stuff that Makers has done has been really good, especially FAE 01. So we know Makers makes a trill wheated bourbon. But what if they released this wheated bourbon at 10 to 12 years? What if they do a special release where they're like, you know what? Here's a barrel proof 10-year-old wheated bourbon from Maker's Mark. Yeah, I mean, I could use a little more like sweet oak, you know, that caramelized brown sugar. I don't feel like Maker's products quite get there because they tend to be, from what I understand, cycled on the regular and then bottled, 6 to 8 years. But give it a couple more, give it 10, give it 12. And again, there would be no problem selling that. And I would imagine it tastes dang good. So Denny Potter, Maker's Mark Master Distiller, please, we're all begging you on behalf of the whiskey community, please release a 12-year-old Maker's cask strength, and enough of it where we can actually get it. Number 7. This is a whiskey that is rumored to actually be coming to life. So I'm going to speak it into existence right now. I'm going to name it and claim it. That would be Willet, age-stated anything. Willet Distillery releases a buttload of products. They've got the entire Kentucky Bourbon Distillers lineup, which includes Old Bardstown Bottled in Bond, Pure Kentucky, one of the other Kentuckys. What's the other one called? The Black Label. I don't know. I'm forgetting. Some kind of Kentucky. There's the Estate, Old Bardstown. There's Johnny Drum. Probably missing one. Oh yeah, Rowan's Creek. And then there is Noah's Mill. So that's a lot of different products, and they're, unique blend of Willet bourbon, but we don't really know what goes into it. Some of those products used to be age stated, and it's been quite some time since that was the case. But Willet's been doing their own distillation for quite some time, and their stuff is in the 6, 7, 8-year-old range. And so for them to release something nationally with an age statement that said Willet on it, like with their dope branding, because their branding is dope when they're using it on, well, their distillery, obviously, but on their family estate bottles. Like, what if they said, here's a Willet 6-year-old wheated bourbon in a dank Willet bottle, even if it's not family estate, gosh, that would be super cool. And it's supposed to be happening. It shows up on the release calendars saying, oh yeah, this whiskey is expected. It was expected to be released at some point this year. Has not shown up yet, probably holidays. We're getting ready for the big release season, which starts in September every year. So we may be hearing some news from Willet to that end, and there would be much rejoicing. And I'd hope for a pretty big flavor profile variation. There's some flavor profile fluctuation in the Kentucky bourbon distillers lineup that I mentioned before, but it's a family, So maybe something, again, straight wheated, which I actually, on the tour that I was recently on at Willet, they mentioned the Pot Still Reserve was now 100% wheated. So maybe that's all they were doing, moving that to wheated, but it also isn't age stated. And it does taste kind of young, even though the last taste I had, not bad. And I think I need to go back to it. I'll do a video on that probably all by itself because I've given it so much grief. Finally, this is also not a brand new product, but it's a product that very few of us have had any significant exposure to. That's because it's a distillery-only release. That should not be that way. So what I'm asking for and wishing into existence right now is that Heaven Hill would go beyond Parker's heritage, which is not bad. Like this year, it's like a 11-year-old heavy char wheat whiskey that I would buy in a heartbeat, and I would imagine probably tastes pretty good. I would like to see them release another brand nationally as a special release in William Heaven Hill. So these are well-aged bourbons that are either bottled to bond or cask strength that you can only get at this distillery. You used to be able to get them all the time at the distillery, no longer. They're not always available. But if they did a slightly larger batch, that'd be pretty rad because the whiskey is really good. And it'd be great to be able to pick one up in Wisconsin without having to go down into Kentucky and get lucky. And it would be another special release that we can hunt for, which we like. We like the hunt. So it would be pretty rad if Heaven Hill took William Heaven Hill. Don't care about the age statement. Just give it above 100 proof. Make it above 10 years, I guess. I'm going to ask for that. And then, I'd be like, I'm going to try and find that because I think it'd be pretty sick. And it'd be great if it also, the flavor profile did deviate somewhat from the Elijah Craig barrel proofs, and since that's already pretty good stuff. Or even the Heaven Hill Select stock. That's distillery only, and that's their more experimental releases. Buffalo Trace will periodically kick out their experimental ones to select markets. What if Heaven Hill did that? So that's 8. That's 8 that I would want to see fleshed out. Now, you probably have tons of ideas. You're probably like, Drew, you're an idiot. Why don't we see these other ones that I would want? Tell me what those are in the comments. If it's honey barreled wild turkey, not like the Bell Mead honey, not like, oh, it's just a center cut 10-year-old barrel. I'm talking about bourbon actually aged in honey. Tell me that. If you want funky finishes, tell me that. You want more peated bourbons, tell me that. God forbid you would want that. It's not a great match. Peat should stay in Scotch. And mezcal also. Not really peat, but smoky and not bad. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and support if you want to. Patreon.com/entryproofpodcast. The barrel that we picked from Middle West Spirits, the 4 grain that tastes amazing, kind of reminiscent of E.H. Taylor. It's starting to move. So hopefully before too long, we'll be able to say, hey squad, it's up. If you're a Patreon supporter, you can buy it. Hope you have a great rest of your week. Stay tuned to the channel. Live stream this Thursday. We got a blind to taste through from our boy Eric Sawyer. And then next week, I'll probably release some more Kentucky content because I've got a lot of it to churn out. Till then, stay healthy, stay safe, and keep it neat.